just been windy like a city.
Yeah, that's March, man. All day.
And like a lion.
March. We ready to rock?
Yeah, I'm just waiting
Let's
for
do it.
YouTube to load up.
What you got? You got YouTube loading up?
Yeah.
Nice. What award you got behind you there? Oh, that's your certified trainer.
Oh yeah, but then we got
Oh, some Spartan action.
Spartan action, baby. That was from our thing.
Yeah. The try.
That was from the
When you
track.
were doing it in the rain at midnight. That's dope.
Oh man, I missed that. We got to get back on that horse.
Yeah, I've been trying to invite you to work out with me because I seen you slacking. You need to get back on it.
Yeah, this last week. Well, let's see. Hold on. Let me get back in there. There we go.
That's all. I'm just trying to push you, trying to get you back in the groove.
The last week with starting this new job and having training all day.
I figured it was. I figured it
Yeah.
was based on that for sure.
It was because when you do like it's really oh man, I really like this. It's so great.
Got to change your whole focus. It's like taking a left down a new street.
Well, it's you don't have your typical day. I mean
Routine,
your entire
everything.
day is like every hour because you have to meet with every single department all day long and it's great. Like this is the best onboarding I've ever had. I'm not kidding.
That's a good sign.
It's awesome. And
It's a really
even
good
today on one of the things, one of the modules, because it's an e-com company called Spreetail, and
Love it.
did 1 billion, and they want to grow to 47 billion in the next 10 years. And that's I can talk
That's
about that.
like you said. That's where you need to be.
That's where I need to be. But the cool part is this. So this one, he's like this guy that is on like the product or the vendor team or whatever. He's just like, hey, so let's do this. Here's what the exercise was. He's like, let's go on Craigslist and find something that you guys want to buy,
Nice.
and then I'll show you essentially how to flip it. He's like,
Nice.
yeah. He's like, because I used to do a lot of this, but also this will see like what products because we always want to pick up new vendors. We want to pick up
Yeah.
new
Hot
manufacturers,
products.
hot products. What's going on? And then this one guy was talking about something. He's like, hey, you might be onto something. We should check out this vendor next time and see. And so it was really cool because I picked some stuff that then he picked up he found like a lawnmower for $100
Nice.
that was here in town. And he's like, look at this. And so we went, then we found it on Craigslist. We went to eBay, saw what it was selling for. Then he had a little Excel sheet. He's like, here's how I build in, like when I was doing this, he's like, I used to have a company that I did this, but then I found Spreetail and they're like,
Yeah.
these guys are going to pay me to do what I'm already doing.
Yeah.
But they're going to pay me a salary. I'm just going to go do that. He's like, but he's like, I bought, millions of dollars in like refurbished tools and he was doing all this stuff, but with his little calculations, we could have made $100 on this lawnmower flip,
Oh, for
depending
sure.
or whatever, right? And
Dude, I've
so
been preaching that about them estate sales forever.
we've been talking about the estate sales. I mentioned that actually,
Yeah.
and so that was really cool, because that was awesome. I mean, I'm like, dude, now I'm in a place where like we're talking about the stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And from
Get
day
little
one.
tips.
This company, by the way, we're hiring like crazy, and I recruit for the company, but so we'll just say
So
that out there.
contact Joel.
So I'll put a link in the thing.
Link in the show notes.
But think about it, like the first of all, the market's totally blown up. But what I wanted to say was they're all about growing within the company. Like immediately, they're already talking about what is that called? Like I guess career progression, but they're already talking about whatever that hell that thing's called, professional development and all that stuff. They're like, so whatever you want to do in your career, tell
like
your
a
manager
track.
like tomorrow,
Yeah.
and
put
you
you on
guys
a
can
track.
start. Yeah, we'll start. You can start focusing on that. You can start shadowing people. You can start learning about it. There's all these learning modules because there's so much growth, and they want people to follow their passions. That they don't even, it's not like normally when you're at a company, if you apply to another role in a company, you feel like you have a target on your back because
You
your
do.
manager might think you're not happy.
Yeah.
They're not
trying to
happy.
steal
What's
or
wrong?
you're
What
trying
are
to
they?
steal their job.
Right? Or you're trying to
Yeah.
take their job. And it's like, they're not about that. It's all like, they say act like an owner,
Yep, be an owner.
be relentless. Like if you see something that we can improve on, just say it. And they're all and also like, not radical, but like candid. Just be candid and be quick. A lot of feedback and be candid about it. Like we're going to teach people how to be assertive without hurting people's feelings
That's
and
the-
how to
that's
give
the part,
feedback.
man.
So they coach people through all that stuff. Like that's part of it because you need to be able to tell people what's up without thinking like you're going to hurt someone's feelings or they're going to take it the wrong way. And people,
Yeah, and then
it's
report
okay.
your HR.
Yeah. and we're all going to get our feelings hurt sometimes if someone gives us feedback, but it's like, are we coached on how to process that and be like, look, they're not trying to crush you, they're trying to make you better, so let's flip that.
I like that move.
It's really cool,
because you
man.
need to coach people on how to deliver it and how to receive it, because
Yeah.
that's often overlooked, man. And I think that that's one of the things, like in that Jordan Peterson book that we're reading, that he talks about all the time. And one of the rules was just that. He was saying that there was a lady who was working for a company, and the company started doing a bunch of stuff where they had, like, like sensitivity training, and like they were going to ban all these words, and they were going to ban all this stuff that, because it was racist or it was insensitive and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And it's in, and Jordan goes through it way better than I am. And she was like, how do I deal with this, because it's lunacy? She's like, it's craziness. And he's like, well, find a company that will support the discussion instead of just this is how it's going to be, this is what's up, we're changing everything because we're hurting everybody's feelings. But that doesn't work, because eventually everybody's guilty. So you have to have the discussion. If I say something that's work related and it hurts your feelings for some reason, I don't know what your history is, I don't know what your past is, I don't know that you were triggered if I say something that your dad used to say before he kicked your ass or something crazy. How am I supposed to know that?
That's a good point.
So if I say something that's a trigger word for you, that hurts your feelings or puts you in a miserable spot mentally or in your memory, you need to communicate that. You can't just immediately say he's guilty for doing something bad to me, when I didn't know that I had a weapon. I didn't know that I was hurting you. I didn't know that you had a history that would, facilitate something like that. There's so many variables in stuff like that. It's insane, and no one knows how to operate in there. So
Oh, that's
that's
so
huge.
true, dude.
It's
You said
huge.
something that's really poignant. A lot of that there, but like, you might use a word that their parents used when they reprimanded them that makes them feel shameful or something, and it's like, you didn't
My
know
point.
that, or
You
whatever it is. And
can't
so
know
there's
that.
this, you can use the word trigger, but yeah,
Yeah.
that triggers that emotion, and they don't maybe even think of it that way, but they react a certain way just because. That's really interesting. I was thinking about that with Payne today, because he was home a lot of the day today, and he was really getting on my nerves, because it was
Yeah.
like, Daddy, Daddy. He kept asking about going to get toys and going to
He
get
was
toys,
bored, and he
and he was
was.
bored. And I told him like he could stay home because his aunt took him to the zoo and a bunch of the cousins a little while, but they were only gone like not even 2 hours. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, that was fast. So he kept asking to do stuff, and I'm just like, dude, I told you, if you want to stay home, that's fine, but it's going to be boring. And then later on in the evening, I started reacting negatively. I was like, don't ask me again. Don't bring it up. And he's like, Dad, why did I make you mad? And like later on, after I calmed down, I was like, dude, I mean, I'm not mad, and I just hated it because I don't want him. The whole point of that was because I don't want him to react like that when he's older. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I don't want to set these examples for him, whatever. And sometimes, you just got to do what it is. I mean, say you got to reprimand kids. I'm not saying
Sure.
not to, but like, I
You
think
got to
there's a
do it
better way to do
intelligently.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I mean, hey, my parents too would be like, hey, just shut up already.
You,
I
you know
didn't say
it's
that to him, but like when he's
you know
older, I
it's
might, but
it's
he's 5.
crazy. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's a difference, and you just nailed it.
You
It's
know?
it's it's the age.
Yeah.
So before the age of 7, you literally are a sponge, and you
Yeah.
don't operate in a conscious realm. Like, you're not conscious. You're
I keep,
literally
re-
operating in the subconscious level before you turn like 7, 6 or 7, depending on the person too.
I
Everyone's a little
keep
different.
remembering that, and I gotta stay.
Dude,
I'm trying to stay into that. Yeah.
and yeah, and everybody has to remember, like, if you're telling your wife, constantly, like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough energy, we don't have this, your kid is going to record that. And then when he faces adversity, that's all that's going to play in, on the recorder. That's all that he's going to hear in
I
his head. I
know.
don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough, and then he'll be like, fuck it, I can't do it. And then you literally are setting, your kid up for failure. Not you, I'm just saying anybody in general. By doing things that you don't think necessarily even have anything to do with them, and it might not have anything to do with them. But it's like, it's so weird to think about that now, because instinctually I kind of knew that was the case. Like, I kind of had, like, read a bunch of things, connected a bunch of dots, and was like, man, it is super important to watch what you do and what you say at all times around a kid. I mean, I don't care if it's yours or not, at all times.
Yeah.
And almost like consciously spin some of the conversation or some of the words to reinforce some of the positive things or some of the strength items or some of that stuff that they can rely on then when, like you said, they get older. And then, yeah, when they're 20, you can call them a dickhead, an asshole, you know, whatever. That doesn't matter at that point. They've already established everything. They're already operating on consciousness, and, you know, they'll react the way that they will
You know,
react.
you're right, but it's interesting because they're sharp, they're smart. Even at that age, they're sharp kids, and so you know that they understand things, and so you want to explain things to them in a certain way. But lately, he's been wanting a lot of toys, and my wife and I will be like, you know, well, we don't have the money for that, but
Sure.
it's like, I don't want to necessarily say because we're trying to teach him about the money thing, right? Like he has his own money that he's got for things, and he gets to buy. But
Love it.
but when we start saying, I think lately because he's been asking a lot more, and I think it's like when we start saying you don't have the money for that, I don't want, because he's not 7 or whatever yet, I don't want that to be like this thing like, oh, I don't have any money, I don't have any money, I don't have any money, where it's like this worry. So I want to start tailoring, and that's what I've been thinking the last couple of weeks. I want to start tailoring that, like, hey, we have plenty of money, but like we have plenty of money.
But you don't even have to mention that.
We don't even have to mention that.
Problem.
So it's an adult problem.
That's how you
But
have
it's
to frame
like,
it. If it's an adult problem, there's no reason to mention it.
There you go. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's really perfect.
And here's how I dealt with it with Dakota, because Dakota does the same thing. So here's what I tell her. If she's like, Dad, I really want this, can we buy this? I go, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a picture of this, and we're going to save this up, and we're going to make a list. So when your birthday comes around, boom, now everybody knows what to buy you. And when we're closer to Christmas, I'll be like, hey, we're close to Christmas. Boom, Christmas is coming up. Everyone will know what to buy you.
Yeah.
I utilize some of that strategy going on. And then I'll say stuff like, you know, like, hey, let's take a picture of it. Then you can save up. Then once you have enough money, then you can buy it. Like the words, we don't have enough, or we don't have, or we don't, rarely come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Like rarely come out of my mouth. If she wants to do something like play, like you were saying with Pain, I'll say, instead of saying, no, I can't play, I'll say, hey, I got 10 more minutes. Then I'll finish this up. Then we'll go run out and play for a little bit. But then I got to get back to work. Like literally figure it out really, really quick. And even if it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes, they won't care. If they come back, go, you're right. And then agree with them that it did take a little too long, apologize, go play for a little bit, come back. You know, there's, like you said, you just got to outthink the problem without any negativity. And like you said, you're going to reprimand your kids. They're going to get in trouble. And there's a way to spin that too. But a lot of parents will hit the easy button and say, I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have the patience. I don't, you know,
it's easy.
Whatever it is, that's the easy button.
Yeah.
And parents will hit it all the time.
Because you want to also like not come up with some sort of whatever idea, right? Or like try to make up a lie too, which I hate doing. And so I use all these tactics that you're talking about, but I will fall back onto the, because we don't have the time, or because I can't right now. And it's like, that's just an easy way out.
Easy button.
Because I still do, like today I was like, okay, give me 10 minutes. I'll finish up this, then we'll go outside. Give me blah, blah, blah. Like I do that. I realize.
That's perfect.
But I need to, anyway, I just, I just
like
be
a
conscious
toolbox.
of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of falling
just be
back
super conscious of
because
it.
Jenny will say that too. And I want to like approach her about it, because she'll say to me, like she comes from a family with, you know,
super strict.
Well, very good means too, I guess is what I'm saying. But she has this weird thing around money. She's like, I always felt like, you know, I hate money. Like it was always a thing in my house. It was always an issue in my house, even though her dad was like one of the richest guys in town, like, you know, in the top echelon of the town. And it was like, they didn't have a problem with it. So why should she feel that way? You know what I mean? And it was the way that her parents spoke about it in front of them.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And like, it was all relative, like to whatever their issues were. And so it's, I just want to be conscious of that fact. Cause my parents never talked. I didn't know there were times growing up. And then my mom was like, we didn't even know if we could buy Christmas presents, you know, the one year. And like, I would have never known that ever, you know?
Yeah. And that's the key. And that's what I meant about adult problems is like, it's totally cool to teach your kids about money, and you should. It's totally cool to teach your kids about, you know, everything that they need to be self, you know, reliant and strong and healthy out in the world. Totally cool. But at the same time, you know, like if you might not think that you're taking it out on your kids, but be conscious of how you're reacting around your kids because you lost your job. Not even
Yeah.
that you're taking it out on your kid. Just be conscious of how you're acting around your kid after you lose your job, because you're going to be emotional and you're going to be scared and you're going to have all the things that you tell your kid not to be, or not to, like focus on, or to, don't let fear do this, or don't let, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to show all that to your kid in that moment. And they're going to be like, this guy's a fucking hypocrite, So you got to be super careful about that stuff. If you have
No,
major
it's
problems,
really
go into
true.
another room, And I'm not talking like parents will be more concerned whether or not they're swearing in front of their kids. Look, I got news for you, dude. Me saying the F bomb in front of my kids because I'm happy, like, holy fucking shit, that was incredible.
Yeah.
If I see some golf shot hole in one and my kid's sitting there on the iPad next to me or something like that, that is not going to do anything to the kid. Okay.
Yeah.
But you constantly dropping the F bomb when you're yelling at your wife because she didn't take out the garbage or something like that, that will have a huge effect on the kid. It's the context. It's, like everything is context. Everything is situational. Everything is experiential. Like you have to be in. That's why everyone's like, live in the moment. You'll never fuck anything up, but always be wary of the future. Like JP talks about that too. But like that's the type of stuff that you have to, and it's so hard because there's so many things going on. There's so many variables coming at you constantly. There's so much stuff that you have to do. There's so much stuff on your plate. There's so many things on your mind. Like that's why I love, meditation. That's why I love working out. That's why I love coding. That's why I love, doing this podcasting, because you focus just on one other person and you're talking to them,
Yeah.
that's why I love all this shit.
That's the one thing I have every single day this week. I've meditated, but it's
Reading.
and read multiple books, actually 3 different
Really
books I'm
good one.
reading. But
That's
it's
awesome.
like it's I can't wait for maybe next week, even though I think we have another week of onboarding, but it's a little bit different, so that I can get into the rhythm, to the
flow.
where it's like, it's like, okay, where is my workout time going to be? Because
Yep.
it's okay if it's the morning, but I think I might do lunch. There's a boot camp every day at noon,
That's
right at the
cool.
gym across the way. So that might be, I might do a noon boot camp. I'm not sure, but
Well, just mess around with it. Try a
gotta
couple
mess
different
around and
avenues.
see where it all sits.
Yeah.
But it's really flexible, and I'm really pumped about that. Yeah, I don't know. That's all.
I love it.
all
I love
can
that
think
you
of right
made the change. You didn't
Yeah.
hesitate. You just went for it. That was huge.
Yeah.
You did exactly what I was just saying. You were conscious of the move instead of just desperate. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people will make job changes because of desperation. And when you consciously make a job change because you want to enter a company that has a better future, not that the company that you're leaving didn't have a great future, but just in the context that, like you were saying, the industry, how young, how savvy, how
Yeah.
interesting the industry that they're in is, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that was huge for you. And I think
Yeah.
that's the type of move though that will catapult people to greater success, and not enough people do that. They'll get too comfortable.
It's still risky. Like, it's still scary.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
it's still scary because I'm leaving
course.
the same industry of 10 years, even though I'm in the similar role.
Same
but
job. Yeah.
but it's definitely something I'm interested in. So if you're going into something that, like, if you went into like a coding type thing next,
Yes.
or whatever that was,
Sure.
then it's like there's this
Totally
renewed
different.
interest of all of it, and like, and all that stuff.
Whole
and
new
just,
world.
and it's a younger company to the point where it's
Love it.
like their benefits, after a couple years they give you money towards a house. After 3 years you get
That's so
all
crazy.
expense paid vacation. After 5 years you get a sabbatical.
Sure.
If you refer like up to 4 people, you get a whole Hawaiian vacation. All these little things, and it's not a sales role. So it's like all these little things that they try to put, and the benefits are great. So it's just like,
Make you an owner.
I mean, they make a lot of money. Oh, and you get stock options every year, and you
So
get like
cool.
both. Yeah, it's just
That's how you
crazy.
make people owners right there.
Yeah, that is how you do it. So they have really cool forward thinking, which is great. I'm probably one of some
huge.
kind of like an older person in it.
It's huge.
I mean,
it's
and-
huger.
Yeah, which is cool.
You could leverage that shit. Don't
well,
get me
see,
wrong.
my
a lot
boss
of people
was
think
or
that
my
it's a negative, but you can leverage that, dude.
Well, you can already tell. I'm like one of the only seniors in the role, like senior recruiters. And then my manager is just like, dude, I could see great things for you here. And then somebody PM'd me, like, and they're like, hey, welcome to the company, blah, blah, blah. So you made it in the recruiter role. Like, he's like, I know that team is very, very picky. So I'm sure you're going to do great things. Like, that you even got in. Like that was
You get,
really
yeah.
awesome. The
I mean,
nice
you
thing
have a
is they
different
said
attitude though, you know,
that's
like your
true.
attitude is incredible. And you know what's up. Like you have your finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
You're not your typical like 44, 45-year-old dude, you know, like in mid
Been
40s.
checked out for a little while, like
Yeah, you know, and
in a routine or whatever.
that just wants to watch football on Sundays and you know, and that's drink some beers
Yeah.
like some Bush Light drafts, like you said, and you know, go to bed. You know,
Yeah.
you're not that dude. So
We'll be satisfied. Yeah.
that's what they'll notice, you know.
Well, that's true. Thanks for that. And what they said too is one of the guys was like, there isn't, we were talking about recruiting and the culture. It's a really big, strong culture. Like that's what they promote big time. And then he's
You
like,
got to.
there isn't such thing here as about culture fit, because if we don't want to hire everybody that's the same, because
No.
we won't have what we have. Like we need to hire people that are all different, because that makes it like,
Yeah,
it's
you
not,
can't-
but
can't
you
have
know
an
how
echo
companies are
chamber.
like, well, that's true. But you know how companies will be like, oh, we're just weren't a fit for the culture. Well, it's like,
Right.
and I understand that and I support that. Right. But also like you have to have people that are also, yeah, you just can't have
Going to
everybody
bring new ideas to the table.
new ideas to the table,
Yeah,
right?
100%. Or
And
just
to
think different.
And to JP's book, which that's what I wanted to pivot to.
Yeah.
So he starts talking about, how you have, like, let's say in politics, the far right and the far left. So you have the really conservative who like want this, stable, nothing to change. We've always done it this way.
Yeah,
And then
that
you
was
want
a
the
great-
the
great
extreme
example.
like right side, that or liberal side, that creative side that would say like, well, we got to change it up. There's
All
new ways to
change.
do it.
Yeah.
All change. And then they're like, but you couldn't have one without the other, right?
Nope.
And then like the balance is perfect, because if you
Yes.
could get people to collaborate, where they said, hey, we have these great systems, how do we make them better? And they're like, well, let's go all the way over here. And like, well, hold on, some of this stuff is valuable, so like let's merge them both
Necessary. Yeah.
and necessary. So I kept thinking like, what would be like Facebook, okay, for example, would just be absolutely amazing if you had a platform where, but everybody, there was a common goal involved. So it was like let's say we wanted to fix the environment. So let's say Facebook was all about fixing the environment. So then everybody would come together and you would say, just like all these little Facebook groups you get in, when there's rules you have to read over. There's 10 rules. No pitching your own products, whatever. No, I would say no
Spamming.
politics,
Yeah.
and then no like negativity, like no trashing people. Like if you can't bring,
Yeah.
you can bring new
Can't call
ideas
somebody
and
a
you
fuck
can,
twat
yeah,
or
there's none of that. So, and then there, once you get warned, twice you have to buy carbon credits, and third time you're out of here forever. So
Yeah.
it's like you're just banned for however long. So it would be great to have a community. I started writing all these notes about trying to start a community where you have a common goal. Because on Facebook, there's no common goal except to connect, but then you're just connecting with like who you want to connect with, instead of actually connecting with people that might be the opposite thinking of you, but you have a common goal now. So the reason why you would connect with somebody who's the opposite side is because you might both help make things better.
Sure.
So it's like a platform that you have a common goal, that's not just like, we're going to vote for this candidate, right? Or we want to be the opposite of everybody else.
Yeah.
And I just like, that would be so valuable.
It's it's so tough on a social media platform, just because there's no accountability. Like that's what's
The
missing.
group
in social
accountability is
media.
what it has to be. There has to
Exactly.
be, you have to regulate yourselves. And within those private groups, like No Boost 30 has a private group, truthfully, that if somebody's having a hard day and they post in there, other people, we don't even have to
We'll pick 'em up.
The three of us have to,
Yeah.
other people will come in and be like, oh, come on, you try this and do that and have this tip and you're doing great and say a prayer and all this stuff.
That is
it's amazing.
That is ideal for sure, but it would be tough to get it set up kind of well. Like the barrier to entry, and that's the wrong word. So the thing that I think that is that polices that is exactly what you said. It's a private group that they paid to get into, or that maybe it's a private group that you had to do something to get into.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like your fee, or that's your sacrifice. That's a good way. That's a JP word. That you can have. That's your sacrifice to get into this group, and that would make it, to where people would pick each other up, but also then
I get you.
criticize, and like you said, health. That's a bad word too, but criticize respectfully, and and receive that criticism respectfully as well. But yeah, I mean,
that would be great.
that's the ultimate goal, but it's just so difficult because people want to read headlines and they want to just spew one word rebuttals to try to stir the pot. Like they just released an article that even says, they said that the algorithms for Facebook, for Instagram, those two for sure, and Twitter are straight set up to enrage people, not to get you angry, not to get you like, like violent, to
Yeah.
enrage you. You know what I mean? Like that's
man.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
And you
it's
can
the
tell.
dead opposite of what we're talking about.
You can tell it feeds you stuff that they know you want to read, but then it'll feed you every so often something that they know is going to piss you off. And I'll
yeah.
click on some of that stuff. It's weird though. Lately, I'm seeing any of the stuff, the clickbait stuff that I had, the headlines that are great, the really good headlines.
Yeah.
I'll click on, and then they want you to pay. Like Wall Street Journal is one, New York Times might be another. As soon as I read, they give you 5 or 6 lines, and then they want
And
you
then
to
the
pay
thing
the
at the
$1
bottom,
a month
yeah.
or something, and
I
I'm
have
just
seen
like,
that.
I'm not going to do it, even though like well done writing. So if you're trying to sell something, by the way, look
Yeah.
at headlines like that. Those guys are writing headlines that are getting clicks.
Oh, yeah.
So like think about if you're trying to write headlines for your ads or for your titles or for your whatever you're writing, look at that stuff and just steal that because it's getting clicks.
Of
You know,
course.
I watched this video the other day. It was one of the most impactful videos I've seen in a while. It was on, that show, I don't know, it's Tom Bilyeu. He's like kind of a skinny, dorky looking guy, but I think he started like, it's probably not Cliff Bar, but he started like a bar and he made tons of money. And
Okay.
his name's like Tom Bilyeu. You always see him on YouTube. It's like a bluish, and he interviews. He's like sits in 2 little like box chairs and he interviews dudes.
Oh,
and
is
he's
that the
always
dude
got
that
great. Oh,
was
he's
hooked up with Goggins.
he's the guy, maybe Goggins, and then he had that Jesse Eisenberg or whatever
okay,
on
so
that I showed you on.
That's Jesse was the guy that hooked up with
Jesse was the guy
with
that
Goggins.
hooked
But
up
I know who you're talking about
Oh,
now
yeah.
because I seen the Jesse one.
Yep, that was the one I
with-
bounced you.
Yes, yes.
and I was like,
yes.
you have to watch this.
I was gonna say, did you send it to me? And
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. That.
So he had one on this other guy, and I'm not going to get his name, but there's like 2 stories in here that blew my mind. So one was he went on. This guy's like one of the best like personal like mind coaches out there or whatever, and lately, and he's been working with Alabama and all these other sports teams and like every major team you can think of.
Love it.
And so he goes into these. They're like, okay, what can we do? They're like, okay, positivity. Yeah, power positivity works. I know the science behind it works. But somebody going through a divorce is like, it's hard to get through to them. Last thing they know, remain positive. He's like, yeah, but I'm dealing with all this shit, right? He's like, then we narrowed it down and said like, how do we make these people better? What can we figure out? And what they figured out was if they could just get people, because they know that if you say something out loud, positive words, the affirmations have a positive effect. Let's say,
Love it.
let's say 10x's. Let's say 10x is your positivity and your happiness. But what
Sure.
they found out is if you say something negative out loud,
Mm-hmm.
it's 4 to 7 times greater than that. So it's 40 to 70 times xing.
Yeah. Way more weight.
It's effect way more weight on your body. So they said, if we just told our players to shut their fucking mouths, don't say this practice sucks. Fucking coach, I'm not getting any playing time. What the fuck are we doing this for? This class
Exactly,
sucks.
dude.
If we just had them not say that, you could think it, but
Sure.
not say it. The exponential effect it would have, and it changed whole
It's
cultures,
nuts.
right? So think about this. Then he said, I'm getting the chills. He goes, then he said, they went back. Remember Bill Buckner when the fucking ball went through his
course.
World Series, ball went right through his legs. So they found a video of him. It was like a couple weeks or months or whatever, maybe months before the World Series, or I think maybe it was a few weeks or something.
Yeah.
And they said, well, the worst thing in the world that could happen is that, the ball goes through my legs to lose the World Series, blah, 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 blah. And then he's saying, I'm not saying that made it happen, but the fact that it was out there, like somehow at least made it possible that
Yes.
that could have happened to him.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're like, just because you say it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but there's one example. And then this
You
other
can definitely call something into existence.
you can call something into existence. So check this other story out. This is and so there's this guy. He said, well, anyway, this guy's dad though, the guy I'm talking about, his dad was like president of, let's say like the positive, positive
of
thought
America.
club. Yeah, positive people of America, right? And he said as a kid, I was always like, what's this positive? It's all bullshit, whatever. Think,
Yeah.
think whatever. He said, but his dad saw the speaker one day at like a Toastmasters or whatever. And the guy was like a very, very hugely successful magazine guy, conglomerate dude. And so they said
That was big time back in the day, dude.
he was a big time guy. And so,
Yeah.
and his story was,
A lot of influence.
so his mom said, look, you got to take the SAT. He's like, fine, fuck it. He's like failing out of school, whatever, junior, senior, whatever. He goes, takes the SAT. They get the score back, and out of a 1,600 is like a 1,400. And his mom's like, dude,
What?
did you cheat?
Yeah.
Seriously, did you cheat? He's like, Mom, No.
That's probably the first question I
First
would get
thing,
to.
right? No, I didn't cheat. He's like, it was a Scantron with these bubbles. I don't even know how to cheat. I couldn't see it. I don't even know how to cheat. They're like, oh my God. So
You're a fucking genius.
he's like, I guess I just haven't been applying myself. So what
Yeah,
does a
you think?
1400 SAT student do? They go to class. So he starts going to class. And then all of a sudden his teachers start treating him differently. Then he
yeah.
gets into a junior college. Then from junior college, he gets into, some other college. And then from there, he starts a magazine, blah, 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 and has this wild success. Well, like 15 years later, he gets a letter in the mail from Princeton, New Jersey. And they're like, his wife's like, oh, you can open this. And he opens it up. And it's like, hey, we're auditing our files. We do this every 10 years. Looks like you and 13 other students back when you took your SATs got sent the wrong scores. You actually got a 700.
Shut up.
So just the fact that he thought he was a 4, and he acted like then he started acting like he was a 1400 on the SAT, possibly made him become, and then he hung out with people that went to class. Then he was a person that went to class. Then he graduated. Then instead of thinking,
himself.
See, I told you I got a 700. I'm a dumbass. And then I dropped, whatever. But like, isn't that beautiful?
Dude, it's 100%
So beautiful.
legit. So do you remember like when I was telling you a little bit ago, I was like, I've heard about that thing called The Secret or whatever. And they were, like they talk about similar stuff like this. I've never read it. I've never seen anything
Law of
about
attraction and stuff like that.
That's all I know about it is something like what you just said. It's some kind of law of attraction.
Yeah.
But, like I was telling you this a little bit ago and you're like, oh, maybe I texted you and you're like, oh, you're gonna have to tell me some more about that. And it's exactly that. It's literally,
I know what you said.
Yeah, it was about money,
Mm-hmm.
and I was literally like, man, I could really use like a couple $1,000 right now, just kind of joking around, and boom, I got it. And I was just like, that's fucking weird. And it wasn't like when I said it the day before I knew that my tax return check's going to show up. You know what I mean? Like it was like totally random. And then like it happened again. Then it happened again. Then I started to like almost kind of interact. Like I told you, this is how I found out about Bitcoin. So like I started to interact with this presence and started to ask questions, not necessarily even, just say, oh, I could use some more money, or, oh, I could use a nice sunny day or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I started to like try to pick its brain, whatever this energy was, whatever this thing is, like you said, and it works. And I don't know if it's just like you said, like saying it out loud, calling it into existence, hearing you saying it multiple times, pretending like you are getting an answer, but it was internal, and it was always there, but you needed to like kind of play this weird fucking game in order to get it out of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like,
because it allowed you to believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that, and JP talks about that in his book too, about how like religion is super important, and not because, you should follow God and all this and that and all the bad things that have happened with religion and everything else, but it's based on that principle, just so that you can believe in something. And a lot of people have a real tough time finding something to believe in. And that's why religion was so huge for so long, was because that was the easy button of belief. You could just tie your belief structure to that and you're good to go. You didn't have to worry about anything else.
I'm learning. I'm listening to a lot of different videos about the Anunnaki or whatever, and like
the
Anunnaki or whatever, and
Anunnaki, you could say
Anunnaki.
We're probably butchering it anyway.
Totally, yeah, and all this different stuff, and then God, and then even just the stuff about that Graham though is bringing up about Atlantis, because that in itself should blow people right out of their freaking seats, because just the fact that you always heard about Atlantis and you kind of just threw it out the window like whatever Atlantis, but it truly was a real thing. And how, who knows how advanced they were, but they were advanced enough to
figure some shit out early. Yeah.
And like that was the stuff that perpetuated, even when they got wiped out or whatnot, or that perpetuated after, the Younger Dryas ended, or all that shit. Yeah, that's really amazing. And I think that things like that, even just that, like should allow people's brains to like unlock another little chamber of possibility
belief.
of themselves or
Yeah.
belief that there's just more to this that we don't know yet. And giving that little ounce of belief might even trigger them into some sort of spirituality or whatever, or belief in themselves or whatever it is. But like,
100%.
get involved in that shit, you know?
Dude,
And
you just explore
awesome.
it. I'm not saying to start
Yeah.
going to church every
Oh,
Sunday.
yeah.
I'm
totally.
not saying to read the Bible. I'm not saying to, join a mosque or, go to
Whatever it is that's going to spark it, though. Like,
just explore spirituality in general. Explore the belief system in general. Explore some of this stuff in general. And it could be something like we were talking about too, like where you just psychoanalyze Harry Potter, or you psychoanalyze Lord of the Rings,
oh,
where you
man.
psychoanalyze some of these types of things, because that'll get you into exactly what we're saying, like exploring belief structures and
There
religion
you go.
and that type of stuff. It'll just get you in it. And it's something you already are most likely into, know a shit ton about, have seen a billion times, and can relate. So like there's
Oh, man.
always ways to like tie different things into something that you love. You can do it with sports. You could do it with anything. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Art,
I love
whatever.
when he talks about all the Harry Potter stuff, and then he's like brings it into, and I'm just like, damn, that's so good, man.
It's so good because it's super relatable and everybody
No.
knows about it. Everybody, can tie some sort, because he does get really deep and he does get
Yeah.
super thick. And there's a lot of stuff where you have to reread it. There's a lot of stuff where you have to look up words, like you were saying.
I know. I
And,
was like, what?
Yeah. And
Jenny made a good point the other
and
day.
Harry
She
Potter's
was-
a perfect reference.
Oh man,
Keep
there's
going.
so
What were
many
you saying,
good
Jenny?
things because Jenny made a perfect point, because I was like, look at this book. I was like, Tony calls this, and he's spot on. This is big boy reading.
Yeah.
I'm like, read this. And so she like read a couple of pages, and sometimes she's like, well, first of all, the punctuation is like way off. She's like, and she's like, and I thought, because a lot of times a sentence will end and another sentence will pick up. She goes, now that I think about it, it just sounds like he's dictating this. Because this the way that it's
Guaranteed.
written, and then the way that the periods come in,
Well,
and
I've
then the
seen
way
his
the
lectures,
sentences start,
and
it's
they're
just
almost
like
the same.
yeah, that this is just, and he has a different tempo to the way he talks. I love it.
course.
I love this guy.
You can hear it, or you can read it.
And you
in
can read
his
it and
stuff.
hear it. And it's so beautiful. But what he said about, we were just talking about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I don't
Dude,
know.
it's all good. It'll come back to you. Just
Yeah.
interrupt me when it does. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just stop me. But that's the beautiful thing about those JP books, is like you start it and you're kind of like, man, I got so much other stuff to do. And I know this is going to be one of them like kind of self-help type books. Like you kind of already stereotype the book, even though it's going to be fucking amazing.
It's
but
just
you
another
stereotype
level,
it.
though.
Yeah, exactly. So
It's
then
just
once
nobody's writing
once you
like this.
read that first paragraph or those first couple pages, you're like, oh fucking shit. Like, oh god, this I'm not gonna be able to put this down, or I'm in 100%. I'm in. Yeah.
Like I'll do 20 pages, but I'll always do more. I'll always do 10 more. Sometimes I'll do 20 more if it depends on when I start.
On what's up. Yeah.
Yeah, like tonight I'm gonna get easily more than 20 in, because I'm psyched to read it. I got a huge night's sleep last night, except I have to do about 30-minute show after this. And I want to finish this webinar, but I don't know. I'm learning a lot from that book too. So what's also stalling is like I keep picking up this book and then thinking about the program and then adding things like kind of along the way.
Rule number 2, man.
Yeah, and like really like pulling from this to some extent, because the program itself is written. But yeah, dude, it's just so beautiful. Like you really need to get into
Dude,
this.
his marriage counseling section in there is everybody in the entire world should read that. And it's not even that long. It's just like, maybe 10 pages or so. And he starts talking about like couples therapy and like he gives marriage advice, and he tells you how and why every single marriage fucks up.
Well, he had
And how to
said,
fix it.
and I don't know if it was in the first book or not, but one of the best rules, it might've been in the first book or in a lecture
He
that I
revisits
ever
a lot of
heard.
that here.
Yeah. That I ever heard was him say, don't ever, like, you never want to win an argument. He's like, because if you win an argument with your wife, then you're living with somebody who's defeated.
I love
Right.
it.
So like, then you're living with somebody who feels defeated, and that's not a situation you want to be in.
No.
Which I thought was
And that doesn't solve
so insightful. Right. So it's
He
like,
goes into more of that.
I can't wait. I bet it's deeper. And
Yeah.
so I'm only on I'm about in rule 3 right now.
Yeah,
is what
it's a little after
you're
that.
a little further than I am.
Or maybe it's at the end of rule 3 even. So
I'm pumped though. Like probably one of the best books so far, even both, but like this is, I just can't put it down, man. It's dense and it's beautiful, and it's nobody that I've ever read is this insightful to marrying difficult
truthful.
topics, truthful with also
Yeah.
like with current events. I mean, with Tolkien
He
and
does.
with
He talks
with,
about, he
you
even
know, that
talks
shit.
about like our presidents and politics, and he talks about past politics, and like, he loves Russia. He loves communist Russia, and
Yeah,
his whole house is decorated in it, and anything that he could find that was from communist Russia.
and
Because
I
he
don't
think that was like the craziest thing that's ever happened in the entire world, you know?
I don't find him to be slanted. I think he just tries to speak the truth. So like,
That's what I
or
mean.
very, very factual. So it's not like he's like trying to slant one way or the other, because he'll put you down. He'll put right. He'll put left
Both.
down. He'll put
Yeah.
women. He'll put men. It's not about that. It's about,
Nope.
I saw him and he'll have a lot of feminist battles. And he's
Oh,
like,
dude,
look,
of course.
I'm all about, females
He gets a
making
lot of
more
hate.
in the right workplace.
Workplace,
He's like,
yeah.
but is only if it's fair and
Here's-
warranted.
And here's the
Like-
reality of why why
So great.
this is happening.
Yeah.
Like, you can't argue with somebody that's telling you, like, here is the scientific data that I have found on this topic
Yeah.
after doing 30 years of clinical testing. This is what I found. Okay. And if somebody who's literally 2 years out of school with a gender study degree is going to argue with that dude and think that they're right and he's wrong, I mean, like, that's everything that's wrong with the world today.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's
know.
literally everything that's wrong with the world today is somebody that argues with somebody who has 30 years of experience in something and wants to tell me they can't even tell me what the weather's going to be like next Saturday, but they're going to tell me 200 years from now that global warming is going to kill everybody. Like stuff like that. That's like my
That's
favorite
funny.
example.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even know how to predict the weather for next week. You don't even know how they predict the weather or what goes into predicting the weather, but you're concerned and you're going to march and protest that 200 years from now, the global ice caps are going to melt. We're all going to drown. Really?
I know.
The
That cracks me
logic
up.
of most people's arguments and the logic of most people's points is ridiculously stupid. And I apologize. I'm not saying that about you. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that about,
yeah.
anyone in particular, but most people's logic around how they think is ridiculous. Same with mine. My logic is super fucking flawed, but that's how I get more intelligent is I just, oh, fuck, that was stupid. And then I look into why it was so stupid and what are the other avenues and options to not be stupid next time,
Yeah.
So, but JP, for Jordan Peterson though, he nails it every single time. Like, he nails it. He doesn't speak unless he has really, really, really put some like Nietzsche, Freudian, freaking Jungian, like those type of guys thought into, everything that comes out of. That's why he constantly references all those guys too. That's why
All the
he's
time.
he's a huge proponent of history. He's definitely aware of the future, and he lives in the moment. And he's also had his own problems that he's had to deal with. He's not perfect. He talks about all that stuff.
I'm
He
so
comes
glad that
clean,
he
know?
explained that in the beginning, because I wanted to learn about what happened to him. And I'd seen some stuff on YouTube
too.
and different things, but I'd never got the full,
Me neither.
really deep story about it. And so I was
Right.
so glad that he addressed it. That he didn't
I was
have
wondering
to.
too, because I was in
I was
love with the
glad.
dude and he disappeared.
I know, he
and I didn't know why.
disappeared. I know.
Yeah.
The last time I saw his, and this was a while back, but his daughter interviewed him, and he had to cut it. After about 30 minutes, he's like, "I think this is all I can take right now," and he was like shaking
losing
a
his
little
fucking
bit,
mind.
and he was,
Yeah.
he's like, "I'm
Straight withdrawals.
not feeling well." Yeah, and it's kind of surprised me though that he would have, not that he would have taken the
Me
drugs
too.
that he took.
I know where you're talking. I
But
know where
like
you're going with this.
that, he wasn't maybe aware that stuff could happen through with what he did.
But that's my point. Is
But that's-
because
we're all
he got
different.
bit
I
in
mean-
the ass because he was still susceptible,
Yeah.
even with his intelligence,
Even with his knowledge in
and
the
his
field.
peripheral. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
everything that he's heard in the past and all of the different
Yeah.
warning signs that he knows, everything, that he still fell victim to it.
And maybe
you know?
he thought he could think his way out of it, or
Right.
maybe he, you know what I mean? And he
Outthink
wakes
it.
up in a Russian
Russian
rehab,
fucking hospital.
essentially, like his daughter
Handcuffed to
flew
the
him
bed.
to, and he's freaking out, and he was mad at her. And
Yeah,
but,
dude,
but
of
you know what?
course.
Unfortunately, and then a lot of that stuff, yeah, you guys have to get this book. It didn't even work, and like
So dope. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't even work.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and then I mean, I feel bad from all the ketamine treatments that he went through and shit like that. Like I've heard that stuff's really, really hard on you.
Well, I was watching, you know, yeah, did you ever do the float tank? I told you about
No,
that, right?
no. You've told me
Yeah.
about it, but I've never done it.
Sensory deprivation. So
Yeah.
if you're claustrophobic, don't do this. But if you're not, do this. Okay. It's a sensory deprivation tank. So you go into this bubble and you float on water, you're butt naked, but you can't feel
I'm in.
anything. Okay. You can't feel the water. You can't feel your skin touching anything because you're floating.
Fucking crazy.
The temperature in the bubble is exactly the temperature of your body.
Oh
There's
my
no
God.
noise, so it's completely airtight, quiet, except for the oxygen that's being pumped in there, you know. And there's no light, so nothing. The only thing you can hear if you move around, you
You
can
could
hear
only
like
hear
the
your
bloop, bloop, bloop.
breathing or
Yes.
your heartbeat, probably.
So once you stop moving, yes,
Fucking
you hear
drive
your
me nuts, I
heartbeat
bet.
and your breathing. But here's the craziest part. Eventually, you'll start to lock in on the heartbeat instead of the breathing. Well, you lock in on the breathing
Yeah,
to
breathing first, I
ignore the
bet.
heartbeat, you know. But
Oh,
then once your breathing just kind of takes on its own, you know, function or its own pace, you'll start to notice your heartbeat again. And then your heartbeat will start to set this like rhythm. For me, it reminded me of being at like some kind of Indian seance. Like all of a sudden I started hallucinating massively. So it was like I
no
heard
way,
drums. It was like
dude.
zoom dum 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 zoom dum 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 zoom dum dum dum.
Shit.
But it was like in the background, like I'm getting chills. So in the background in the distance, I could hear
Oh,
and
jeez,
I'm
dude.
like, what the fuck? And I pop up because I was so fucking
Yeah,
freaked
you
out.
started getting scared.
I popped up. I get out of the tank and I'm like, what
He's
the
getting
fuck,
out of the
dude?
tank.
Yeah, I'm like,
He's
what
like,
the fuck was that, bro? I was like, wow, that was a lot. That was a lot. So like I get back in the
let's get
tank,
back in.
you know, I'm trying to relax, but I'm waiting for like this thing to like kick in again or something, you know, something to
It's
happen.
probably gonna take a while though. Oh,
Well,
I
it
see.
never did because I was conscious of I couldn't
Yeah,
relax
you
again.
couldn't get
You know
back
what I'm
into.
saying?
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
took. Yeah.
And then I started to get like conscious of the claustrophobia a little bit. Then I started to get conscious of more things
Of
that
what could happen or
you
where.
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Like I
Because
started to get paranoid, a little panicky. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
yeah.
it was weird though. The first half an hour, it was nuts. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is
I gotta
because the
try that,
guy
dude.
that invented sensory deprivation tanks and float tanks
Uh-oh.
did it because he wanted to up the level. He wanted to up the ante of his ketamine trips.
Wow.
So he built this fucking float tank in his backyard and then started taking ketamine in there.
Fuck, he probably died in it.
No,
Jeez.
he would be in there for like 14 hours.
Oh
You know,
my
like straight.
gosh.
And then he would
dude.
come out. And so there's a story about this. If you go on YouTube, I think you could find it, or Vice, Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. It's a show about this guy that goes around and just studies drugs. He's a real scientist, real, you know, chemist. He's this shit. He's super fucking cool. And one of the episodes was about ketamine. And he goes to this ketamine guru, the guy that actually lived with the dude that I'm telling you about, you know, and these guys explored ketamine. You know, they were the pioneers of ketamine. And it's one of the coolest episodes. It's one of the coolest episodes of fucking Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia ever. And they explain all this float tank shit and everything else.
Dude, that book, The Fast This Way or something like this, that one that I was really into, and still fasting. I'm doing that a few days a week. And
how is that going? Do you have do you use an app or anything?
I use the Zero app.
Yeah.
Which is cool because you could just hit it when you're done. And
Yep.
so I usually do like a 14-hour fast, maybe
that's really good.
Only a few days a week, because it's like I'm trying not to get into keto. That's not the point, like for me to live in keto or anything, because I know that's not really healthy for you.
But it depends on how you work it though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But to live there, and if you're going to do it right, like really do it right, then whatever. I mean, it is good for you. Yeah, you have to do certain things. But just doing this bulletproof, thing has been great because my energy is amazing and also
work. Rachel's saying the same thing because she's doing the same thing.
Yeah, it
same
really
exact
is great.
thing.
She's doing with the butter and the MCT8 oil in the morning.
Well, we did that a long time ago.
I did it a while back, but I'm on it again. I like it.
We haven't done that. But she's doing the same app, same book, same guy, where she hits the button.
Dave Asprey and whatnot.
Yeah, same guy, everything.
So he's talking about how you can do a spiritual fast. So he goes like 4 days into the with a shaman into a cave in Arizona, right?
So dope.
And I'm like, damn it, I moved from Arizona. He goes, you won't find this anywhere. But he goes, I'm in this one cave. So I was going to tell you, but I'll tell you real quick. And she might have told you already, but I was in this one cave. We go up to the cave the first night, and I was like, I'm with another person. I was like, damn, I don't want to be in this cave. I want to be in the other cave that we passed along the way.
Yeah.
And the shaman was like, just go in here, turn your phone on in the morning, just because I'm going to send you a text, a check-in text that I want you guys to think about. So turn your phones off, whatever. I'll check in with you morning. So all night long, he's like thinking about this. Then he wakes up in the morning, and the first text he sees from her is, meet me down at the trail. I got somewhere I got to take you. So he gets in the truck in the morning, and she's like, I could tell you want to go back to that other tunnel. I could tell that all night, all you were thinking was that you wanted to go back to that other cave. So that's where we're going to go. He's like, I never mentioned to her that's what I wanted to do. I never hinted that that's what I want to do. He goes, there's true, like they say that these there are people that are really in tune with people. And like, maybe she did, whatever, which I thought was really cool. But he said that you can do fasting to where the point that you can get the same effect from like ayahuasca treatments that the people take ayahuasca for. So you can get to those real levels of hallucinating, of like seeing that with just fasting alone, if it's done right. If you get there, and then if you whatever, like me, you might have to use heated room or whatever the hell it is. I don't know.
What's the longest you've ever fasted?
Probably like 22 hours or something like that.
I did 3 days.
I just did that last week or 2 weeks ago, but
yeah, I did 3 days, dude.
I would love to try
the
that.
whole third day is hallucination. The
Really?
whole fucking third
What were you
day.
just doing, like water and salt, like
No,
to have some
just
electrolytes?
Water. Yeah, just
So
water.
you got to put some salt in there, otherwise you'll start fucking up your heart rhythms and shit.
I don't think we did that at all.
That's what he was saying.
I think the only thing we did was water, and no, there was something else. Was there? You were allowed to eat like a handful of almonds, maybe, or something?
Probably.
No, that wasn't.
That was probably to keep but he said like just do salt, and if you're just gonna do
it was a little bit ago. It was a couple years ago, like maybe 5 years ago.
I really want to do that. Here's one thing.
Three here. Wait, real quick.
Go.
So 3 days, third day, it literally felt like I was in a TV show. And like looking out of my eyes was like, like that 80s TV view. Like everything had that like kind of fuzzy, like you wanted to touch it. You felt like you were trying to touch something through a screen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything had that. And then you know what the coolest part was is when I started to eat again. Like it's done. You can go and get a fucking Big Mac if you want.
Probably
right?
very selective of what you wanted to put in your body.
It wasn't even that. It was just like you're looking at like a banana and you're like, that's a fuck ton of food. I mean, like that is a shit.
Like I can eat this whole thing.
Yeah, like I don't know if I can eat that whole thing. That's how it gets. Like you literally will look at something like a banana and go, I'll eat a quarter of it because the whole thing is way too much.
Well, and the other thing is just that other day when I did, almost a full day, it was like then we went to my in-laws and it was chili, and I love chili. Chili's great, but I looked at it and it was a little oily, and I was like, I don't even know if I want to put that in my body. Like
exactly.
I want something healthy to go into this vacant like space. I want it to fuel me the right way. So it immediately changes your relationship with it, right? It was really cool. I think that the spiritual part of it, like if you were doing what you did, but you were like focused on tapping into or praying or speaking, whatever that was, I think I could see how you could channel that into whatever you were trying to work on, right? Or if it was a spiritual talk, or if you were trying to get in touch with who you are or whatever that is, right? Or touch with God or something like that.
Or just ask some questions. Or
what I really want to do, and then I'm going to leave you on this because I got to keep going. But
me too. I got 9:30.
I know you got shit to do too. So I want to start a Kickstarter. Okay.
What you thinking?
And this would probably cause me to maybe take a sabbatical from my job if I got it funded, but I want to raise like $150K.
Okay.
And I want to take a person in my life that you guys probably would never guess.
Okay.
I shouldn't even say the person in my life, but
Don't.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
shouldn't have even said that.
Oh, okay.
But I want to take somebody and maybe their husband for 4 months and hike the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Yeah.
Because they either need to focus on,
So you want to be the guide.
I want to guide them across there. For one, the person needs to lose by about 150 pounds.
Of course, mate.
And then it would give them a chance to work on themselves, maybe their marriage, but also that's the only way I feel like I could remove them from their element, have exercise all, because I thought, hey, if I had a farm, right, I want to do the farm, people could come out to the farm, but
Love
you'd have to keep them on the farm and you'd have to have them walking and doing job. But if we were out on a trail for 4 months, and there was an end point, and then I could, part of the Kickstarter is like you could, the higher end tickets would be maybe 1,000 or 2,000, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you would meet us at the end and we would have this big celebration.
Huge
so that would be
party.
really cool. And then we would record it. So it would be a documentary book that we would put out
Yeah, and then
about
you
this
give it
journey,
to
about
everybody.
losing the weight. And she's a cook. So she would be able to also write a cookbook maybe along the way, or
Yeah,
like just
'cause you're
document
gonna
her
have to
journey
get
with this weight
creative.
loss, because you have to have something that you want to, deliver for the Kickstarter, blah, blah, blah. But
I like that. I like, you should, here, you could steal
Yeah.
some of this too. Everyone should have a journal. Everyone should be required to keep a journal.
Yep.
Everybody should have a camera and just take pictures whenever.
And just vlog it.
She's the cook, or whoever cooks writes down everything that you guys cook, recipes, everything
Yeah.
like that. And then, like you said, at the end, you give them a whole package. So you give them select stuff out of all the different journals that might be relevant
Beautiful.
in some sort of like journal thing.
Beautiful.
Then you have another book that's just pictures of your trip, right? Then you have another book, like you said, that's a cookbook, and you have all these wrapped up together, and then you give them like a t-shirt, or like you said, or something else. And you have like this, like you said, a DVD, or you give them a jump drive, or you give them access
be
to
great.
something, for a movie, or like behind the scenes footage or whatever. And yeah, just bundle all that up and use that as your Kickstarter levels.
And exactly. And they would give that person like, yes. Oh, so the money actually would be so that we could all leave our jobs and we can then
make it work.
better this person's life.
Yeah.
And then, but at the end of that, the person would have a new life. They would say, now I have this story I can go
100%.
share with the world. I'm a new person. I can share my journey with others, and I can improve others' lives. So I don't even have to necessarily go back to my job. I have this new thing I can do.
Yeah, just opportunities.
Yeah, there's
Doors.
and so like that is what I want to do. And at first I thought about bringing people that, yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Well, you could get to that level. I know where you're going, and I was going to say that too. Is you could also, sell the aspect of, hey, this is just the first trip. After I figure out how this all works, I'm going to open it up, and the next time I do this, I'm going to have 10 people on a Kickstarter that are coming with.
Yeah, that's
so these
yeah.
10, on the next Kickstarter come with me. Then you could like have each one of those people take another 10 and do like a pyramid scheme almost from that.
Dude, that's awesome.
And then eventually you have people doing these types of adventures at all, like White Sands, like
There
the
you go.
Appalachian, like Glacier or something, or maybe the Road to Hana or something. And
the Road to Hana, that would be great.
all over.
And something about that is I thought it would be great, really, really great couples therapy. Think about when have you ever watched it's like Hoarders or something like that, or there's one other show, I think it might be Hoarders, but the people come in and they say, yeah, like we're gonna clean out your whole house.
Yep.
And they're like, oh my gosh, we don't know what to do. When the couple does it together. Oh, it was the Marie Komodo with the she folded the clothes, the Chinese girl or Japanese girl, I'm sorry, that with the joy, where you feel, does this bring me joy? And then you give it away or not. I can't remember the method.
I do know of
the
this.
Komodo method or whatever. I can't remember. It's the Netflix documentary. Everyone was talking minimalist thing or whatever.
Yep.
So she would go into the houses and she would have them do it, and they came together as a couple and they did this thing as a couple, and they in like 1 week totally like revamped even their relationship. And I remember being on a rafting trip with Jenny, and even you go on a serious 3-day rafting trip where you risk your life with people, that people on that boat, you become like blood brothers. You're like, we risked our lives together. That's why like boot camp and these rites of passage are so, this would be a right, like you bring 10 or 5 couples, 10 people on like, we hike the AT together, and you give them things to do, like a journal along the way, and say, every other day, answer this question. And you'll say, here's one of my things. I want to say, look, here's the question for today. You're not going to answer this. It's 6 a.m. We're going to go hike 15 miles. Think about this question all day. And when we get down and we eat and we get some food in our brain, then you're going to write down what you've thought about all day long. You know what I mean? And then you're going to do some good work. And then we're going to talk about it maybe if we want around a campfire.
Super good.
And not every, you know what I mean? Like it's
Super
group
good.
therapy, but like they're going to do it on their own.
Yeah, you are, and you're just
You
giving
know.
them prompts. I mean,
You're
that's
just
the whole
giving them
thing.
prompts. That's
Yeah.
it. They're going to do all the work. But the thing is, because of what they're learning about themselves doing this 4-month hike and achieving this thing, they're going to
Totally
grow
out of your comfort zone.
regardless. Yeah, they're going to grow regardless. This is going to be like just groundbreaking work. You know,
A lot of people need this too, and it's you've been hinting at this and trying to figure
Figure it.
something out like this, and I know you will one day, and I
Yeah.
know that you will be successful with this one day. And like, you know, it is 9:30, so let's leave it at this.
Okay.
But that rule number 2, and I really
I know.
was
I
kind
thought
of
about you.
pumped. I was pumped when I read rule number 2 because I was like, I was fucking right. You know what I was saying? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you still need to operate within dad space, husband space, coworker space. Like I didn't factor any of that in when I was running my mouth before and we were talking about this, you know, because you were about the, hey, let's do it all. And I was like, no, you got to fucking focus on one thing and just
That's
go
true.
balls deep. Yeah, and it's always somewhere in the middle, which it was. But I still think that that's the way that you are going to get to your, you know, your retreat where the house and you teach everybody business, or the Appalachian Trail where you teach them about themselves, or the farm. You have so many different ideas that you're kind of, you picked all the colors of Play-Doh and now you're trying to just make something out of that. And you should never be, you know, like not deterred or not like sad, but like you should never be, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
frustrated or stuck, or I don't know.
you shouldn't be worried necessarily that you haven't figured it out yet. And this is one of the things that I'm learning in coding, because coding is so fucking hard, right?
I bet.
That
I know.
you'll have days or even weeks where you feel like you're the dumbest piece of shit alive, and you're like trying to figure this stuff out. Then you cheat and you look at the answer and you're like, you know, how did I not know this? There's no way. You do the thing, you know, the negative thing. There's no way I'm ever going to figure this out. You know, there's no way I'm ever going to get this. This is way too fucking hard, dude. I'm in over my head. I should have started this when I was 22. You know, you go through all this stuff, you know, and but at the same time, you keep hearing the people telling you, you know, in the videos, in the boot camps, in the books, they're like, look, dude, don't focus on that. Focus on the, hey, I'm way better than I was yesterday at coding. I know these new words. I know these new functions. I know these new things that I didn't know yesterday. And maybe I knew the words, but now I understand them. You have to remember the little image that I sent you, the 0.0001 equals 0.3 and, you know, after a year versus 0.00000 zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even that small ass little incremental, you know, change, or, you know, positive increase in whatever you're trying to do, or that new thing, or just that movement forward will eventually add up. So I think you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
I don't ever want you to give up on that dream, because you will get it. It might be on fucking Mars, but you're going to get it.
Well, I can tell. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think listening to you say that makes me look at it as a whole and then think, what's the common thread? We can both see what the common thread is. The common thread is I'm obviously helping people do something. It's helping people. That's the common thread. I just need to figure out what that
optimal way to do it.
The optimal
most
way,
efficient, most cost effective, most time
and
effective.
And there will be a spark. Like maybe I do an AT with this person and this person, and like that is the spark or the funding that get to whatever. So
no matter what, it will be
a spark to whatever that is. But awesome, dude. I love it. Thanks for your time.
Go do your thing. Go have some fun. Go read some JP, and then we'll talk more next Thursday, because by next Thursday, we should almost be wrapping that bad boy up.
I know. I'm going to knock a bunch out and catch up. What rule are you on?
I'm on rule 6.
Okay.
Once you read that fucking marriage part, text me.
Okay.
Because, man, it's a game changer. It's a fucking game changer, bro.
I can't wait.
All right, dude. Go do your thing.
Russian life.